My fifth favourite player of all time will again divide opinion. This one more than most. It's Anthony Mundine. There have been few players that I've enjoyed watching play more than Chock. He was such a talented attacking player, and if I'm honest, I think that he's actually underrated. Certainly not underrated by himself, but I think in general that the hatred that people feel towards him clouds their objectivity. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think he's as good as he thought he was, but he was a phenomenal athlete. If you ever get the chance to go back and watch the 1999 season highlights, you'll see that he was involved in 90% of all our tries that year. And I count that as the single best individual season I've ever seen from a Dragons player. Mundine always claimed that every time he played against Laurie Daley or Brad Fittler, that he got the better of them. Again, go back, watch the games where the Dragons played the Raiders or the Roosters and tell me that his claim is wrong. Again, I'm not saying I would have picked Mundine in those rep sides ahead of the likes of Daley and Fittler. I think incumbency is worth something, and those players were proven performers in big game situations over a long period of time, and Mundine getting the best of them in a handful of games, mostly during the regular season, shouldn't have been enough to usurp great players like Daley and Fittler. And it wasn't. But if he had been picked, it would have been hard to argue that he didn't deserve it. If Mundine had stuck with rugby league and the Dragons rather than changing to boxing, he may well have been in my top two. Still, I loved him as a boxer as well. I remember in 2003 going to a sports bar in Darwin to watch Mundine fight Antoine Eccles. There weren't a lot of people there to watch the fight, maybe 30 people in a pretty small pub. And when the judges' scores were read and Mundine was crowned the world champion for the first time, the entire pub randomly started singing the Australian national anthem. Every single person in the pub standing and singing our anthem in celebration of Anthony Mundine. It was surreal. And not just because they were singing the anthem, that was a bit weird, but to be in a place where Mundine was actually loved, because usually I'm the only one. The irony is also not lost on me that these people were celebrating Mundine singing the anthem when he was later a vocal opponent of the song and a big proponent of trying to get the anthem changed. I know he's a controversial figure, and I certainly don't agree with a lot of the bullshit that's come out of his mouth over the years, but Jesus Christ, I loved him as a player. So good to watch, and that's what it's all about. Remove the politics. I just love footy.
Riders! Podcast!